Moving on now, Nigeria is still reeling from an attack on a Catholic church that killed at least 50 people. The church came under attack during a mass on Sunday as gunmen opened fire inside the church. The victims of the attack are currently undergoing treatment as they recall the horrific incident. Here's a report.
Victims of an attack on a Catholic church in Nigeria were being treated in hospital on Monday. At least 50 people, including children, were killed in the attack on the St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo, according to media reports. Among those recovering at Owo's Federal Medical Center was Alex Michael. When gunmen burst into the church during Mass on Sunday, he hid his children under the seats.
They entered, they started firing everywhere. So many people. But unfortunately, because of the kicks, my leg was unable to enter the pew in the church. That was where they shot my leg.
The medical director at this facility says 26 adults and 13 children were brought to them, and that some were dead before they arrived. Doctors like Jerry Bankole have been treating lacerations, bullet wounds and blast injuries.
Well, we've been doing our best to resuscitate and make sure that their injuries are not worsened by in any way. A number of them have gone to theatre also to have surgery done.
Owo is located in Nigeria's southwest, a part of the country that does not usually experience violent conflict over religion. Authorities have not yet released any information about who carried out Sunday's atrocity or why.
WION is now available in your country.
Now, Nigeria's security situation is under fresh scrutiny after a deadly Easter attack in Kaduna State. The military says it has rescued dozens of worshippers kidnapped during church services, but multiple casualties have also been reported. Gunmen stormed a Catholic and an evangelical church in a village near Kaduna, abducting worshippers during Easter celebrations. The Nigerian military says troops responded swiftly, engaging the attackers in a firefight and rescuing 31 civilians. The assailants reportedly fled, abandoning the hostages. However, the attack turned deadly. The military confirmed at least 5 people were killed, while local Christian leaders say the toll could be higher. The incident comes despite heightened security measures ordered for Easter, including deployments at
is the latest victim of Nigeria's worsening insecurity. Church officials confirmed that Reverend Father Bobu Pascal, parish priest of St. Stephen's in Kaduna Archdiocese, was kidnapped early Monday, November 17th, when armed men stormed the parish. Several others were also abducted, and the brother of Father Anthony Yeru was killed in the attack. The Archdiocese is appealing for prayers for the safe release of all those taken and for the repose of the deceased. Nigeria continues to battle violent gangs, Boko Haram insurgents, and attacks linked to armed headsmen, with clergy increasingly targeted. This latest abduction comes months after 3 seminarians were taken in Archdiocese. 2 survived, 1 died in captivity. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump's recent designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern is being viewed by some church leaders as an opportunity for strengthening international support. As Nigeria's security crisis continues to draw global attention, the Secretary of the Dicastery for Evangelization, Archbishop Fortunatus Nwachukwu, has described the suffering and persecution of Christians in Nigeria as a painful thing, warning that the country's recent classification as a country of particular concern should be a shame to every Nigerian. Speaking in an interview with Catholic Television after receiving an honorary doctorate from Veritas University, Abuja, the Archbishop lamented the persistent killings and widespread insecurity that have made daily life unbearable for millions. Archbishop Mwanchuku condemned the massacre in Yelwata, Benue State, and criticized the energy being spent on debating Nigeria's international classification while lives continue to be lost. The suffering of my people is also my suffering, he said, recalling the personal grief of losing two sisters during the Biafran War. He insisted that arguments over labels mean nothing unless the root cause of violence are addressed. According to him, if you remove the cause of the killings, you remove the bias for classification. The Archbishop also delivered a message of hope to Christian communities and victims of violence, assuring them that their plight has not gone unnoticed by the global church. He urged Nigerians, both leaders and citizens, to treat life as sacred and to rise above the moral and ethical decay that has damaged the country's reputation worldwide.
Before we take a look at which African leaders have ascended to the upper echelons of Western Freemasonry, we will also take a look at the unique relationship that the Roman Catholic Church has with the formation of the first secret societies in the Western world.
Washington, D.C., December 7th, 2016. President Donald J. Trump nominates former Iowa Governor Terry Branstad, a prominent Freemason, to be the new United States ambassador to China, a nation that has actually banned its citizens from joining the very secretive fraternity.
Freemasonry is based around a cult of secrecy. It inevitably creates suspicion from the outside.
Some people believe the Freemasons are the hidden hand that controls everything going on at high levels in politics. It's the largest and the oldest fraternal order in the world. A fraternal order is a social club for men, basically. And the Freemasons have been around for centuries, and they've had major impact on our society and our democracy.
According to some historians and researchers, more than 6 million people have taken the Masonic oath of secrecy across the globe. In the United States alone, they've held powerful positions in Congress, at every level of the court system. And 14 have ascended all the way to the office of the presidency. Could it be mere coincidence that many Freemasons have sought and gained such power throughout American society? The answer may lie in the legend that Freemasonry evolved out of another ancient and mysterious organization, the Knights Templar.
People will ask, are the Freemasons a direct descendant of the Templars? And I would say possibly. I think in their ideology and their beliefs, yes.
The Knights Templar were established in 1118 AD to protect Christian pilgrims in the Holy Land during the Crusades. However, after establishing their headquarters on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem at the site where the biblical Temple of Solomon once stood. Some believe the Templars discovered not only priceless religious relics, including the Ark of the Covenant, but also documents containing secret ancient knowledge that had been lost to history.
While there, what they believed was the tomb of Solomon was unearthed, and they began to find things that were, shall we say, valuable.
It was during this period, as the Templars guarded not only the lives of religious pilgrims, but also their valuables, that they created one of the first organized banking systems.
The Templars were the first bankers. They were actually the ones that started the whole credit system. They lent money to people for a payment, what we would now call an interest rate. They basically had a treasure to back it up, and they became very, very powerful as a result of it.
However, by 1307 AD, the Templars' influence and wealth had become a great threat to King Philip IV of France after he fell into their debt. With the cooperation of Pope Clement V, the king charged the Templar order with heresy, outlawed their very existence, and had many arrested, tortured, and executed.
Friday the 13th, 1307, a date which will live in Templar infamy, was a day in which the King of France and the Pope at that time decided to rid themselves of the Knights Templar. They burned at the stake Jacques de Molay, who was the head of the Knights Templar. Many of the people in the King of France's court, as well as the Vatican, were Templars, so that the Templars did understand that something was coming. Therefore, they were actually able to go somewhere else to prosper and to conduct their business.
There were two major places in Europe where the Templars were more or less allowed to continue, and not officially, but a blind eye was taken. One was Portugal and one was Scotland.
There's the story that Freemasons descended from the Knights Templar. Upon fleeing France, some knights escaped to the British Isles, maybe Scotland, and that they sought employment among the stonemasons of the day, and that they brought aspects of their traditions, their rituals and symbols into Freemasonry.
While the direct connection between the Knights Templar and Freemasonry remains the subject of debate, what is more certain about the origins of the Freemasons is that between the 11th and 13th centuries, the Catholic Church commissioned large numbers of master masons to oversee the construction of elaborate cathedrals across Europe. These master masons soon came to be known as Freemasons, due to the fact that they traveled freely among various lodges which had been established as places where they could fraternize with their colleagues and share the inner secrets of their specialized craft.
These people were among the most educated people at the time. They had to understand geometry, had to understand mathematics, and understand, how to cut particular stones and the stresses of stones. They had to have certain trade secrets. What they did is created a kind of an initiatory system that would admit certain practicing stonemasons into this society.
By the late 1500s, there were dozens of Masonic lodges in Scotland and across the United Kingdom. It was also a time when guild membership began to change. A greater emphasis was placed on rituals, symbology, levels of membership, and the sharing of secret knowledge. There are those who believe that descendants of the Knights Templar used these lodges to pass down their secrets to the Freemasons and protect their vast wealth.
When you join the
For this next chapter, we're going to take a look at the work of a Nigerian journalist by the name of Drew Bella, only because he has released some of the most impressive investigative reports, persecution of Christians in Nigeria. He has especially focused on the ways that a whole host of geopolitical factors converge in places of particular concern, such as Nigeria.
The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern.
This is Senator Ted Cruz from the state of Texas in the United States of America. The bill he introduces, S2747, the Nigerian Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025, is specific. It mandates Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern, imposes targeted sanctions on Nigerian officials, maintains pressure on Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa. Cruz's bill has no co-sponsors. This is his project, his cause. And then there is Congressman Riley Moore, who sends a formal letter to the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying the United States cannot stand idly by while believers are slaughtered and must acknowledge the religious nature of the violence. He believes Nigeria has become the deadliest place in the world to be a Christian. He also calls for Nigeria's CPC designation and urges the suspension of all US arms sales until the government protects religious minorities. Nina Shear, a human rights lawyer who has spent 40 years advocating for religious freedom, then coordinates a letter 30 Christian leaders sign it. Former ambassadors, Catholic bishops, evangelical pastors, Baptist leaders, they address it to President Donald Trump. Even those outside our faith, they said, citing Bill Maher's recent comments, recognize the atrocity of what is happening in Nigeria. But before all of this, there was a hearing.
The purpose of this hearing is to discuss the deteriorating state of religious freedom in Nigeria and the urgent need to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern.
It was convened by Representative Chris Smith. He has held 8 of these since 2012, more than any other member of Congress. The witnesses are carefully selected. Nina Shear from Hudson Institute, Tony Perkins, former chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom and current president of the Family Research Council, Bishop Wilfred Anigbe from Nigeria. They all say the same thing. Nigerian Christians face systematic persecution. The violence is religious. The government is complicit or incompetent. America must act.
Donald Trump says he's asked the U.S. Defense Department to prepare for potential military action in Nigeria.
Within weeks, September through October 2025, Nigeria goes from a largely ignored crisis to the center of American political attention. But here's what you need to understand. This didn't happen by accident. This moment, this sudden explosion of concern is the culmination of a 15-year campaign, a coordinated effort by a network of politicians, think tanks, advocacy organizations, and special interests, all building toward this. The question isn't whether their concern is genuine. Some of it certainly is. The question is, why now? After 15 years of violence, does this campaign finally break through? And who benefits from what comes next? This is a story like no other. This is an investigation to answer a deeply troubling question. Is the United States on a secret plot to invade Nigeria? To understand what's happening now, you need to see how we got here. The story begins in 2009, when Boko Haram transformed from a fringe religious movement into a violent insurgency. Clashes between the group and Nigerian security forces killed hundreds. The group's founder, Mohammed Yusuf, was executed in police custody. His followers went underground, then re-emerged with a campaign of bombings and assassinations. While all this happened, the United States, under its first black president, didn't flinch. Throughout 2010 and 2011, Boko Haram bombed police stations, attacked military barracks, and began targeting churches. On Christmas Day of 2011, they bombed St. Teresa Catholic Church, killing 37 worshippers. Still, Washington hesitated. In 2012, Representative Peter King and Patrick Mahan pressured Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to designate Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization. Well, the State Department resisted. Some officials argued the group didn't pose a direct threat to the United States. Others worried designation might be counterproductive, elevating Boko Haram's status and complicating diplomatic relations with Nigeria. This was when Representative Chris Smith held his first congressional hearing on religious persecution in Nigeria. It was July 2012. Archbishop Ignatius Kaigema testified about violence that had claimed 58 lives. The language was careful: persecution, terrorism, sectarian violence, not genocide. It wasn't until November 13, 2013, the day before another congressional hearing, that the State Department finally designated Boko Haram and its splinter group Ansaro as foreign terrorist organizations. The reluctance reflected genuine debate within the Obama administration about how to characterize what some viewed as primarily a local grievance-driven insurgency, not international terrorism. Then came April 14, 2014, the Chibok kidnapping. 276 schoolgirls, mostly Christians, some Muslims, abducted from their dormitory in Borno State, taken into the Sambisa forest. The Bring Back Our Girls campaign went global. First Lady Michelle Obama held a sign, celebrities tweeted, and the world watched. President Obama deployed a multidisciplinary team, military personnel, law enforcement advisors, hosted negotiation experts, intelligence officials. The US provided surveillance assets to help locate the girl.
Why the ECOWAS alliance failed to hold together. The withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from ECOWAS was not a sudden collapse, but the result of a variety of structural weaknesses. First, the failure to address worsening security and humanitarian crises. Sources note that ECOWAS was increasingly seen as ineffective in dealing with the decade-long rise of jihadist violence and humanitarian instability in the Sahel. This eroded public trust and made the bloc appear distant from the realities of its member states. Second, loss of legitimacy due to inconsistent enforcement of democratic norms. ECOWAS imposed many sanctions on military groups, but was criticized for selective enforcement and years of complacency towards democratic backsliding in other member states. This inconsistency weakened its moral authority. 2003 when the sanctions backfired. After coups in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, ECOWAS sanctions increased trade costs, worsened humanitarian conditions, and deepened resentment. These measures pushed 3 states to form the Alliance of Sahel States and a later Confederation of Sahel States. 4. The rise of alternative alliances and anti-French sentiment. The Alliance of Sahel States bloc emerged as a rival regional structure with its own currency plans, defense pacts, and trade policies. This shift was fueled by anti-Western sentiments and a pivot toward Russia and China. The perception that ECOWAS was influenced by foreign powers. The partner states accused ECOWAS of straying from Pan-African ideals and being overly influenced by powerful foreign forces, especially former imperialists like France. While Burkina Faso under Traoré appears to be prospering, it's important to clarify what prospering means here. Burkina Faso remains economically strained, but several factors create the perception of improved conditions relative to other former French colonies. The political autonomy and rejection of French influence. Traoré's government, like those of Mali and Niger, has cut ties with France as a whole and repositioned itself as part of a new Sahelian bloc. This has boosted domestic legitimacy among populations frustrated with decades of perceived neo-colonial influence. Regional solidarity in the Sahel. The Alliance of Sahel States provides collective defense, shared political messaging, and plans for economic integration. This gives Burkina Faso a sense of strategic direction and sovereignty that contrasts with the more fragmented politics of other Francophone states still within the ECOWAS alliance. Shift toward alternative security partnership. By aligning with non-Western partners, Burkina Faso has sought new military support structure. While the long-term effectiveness is definitely uncertain, the shift has strengthened the group's internal legitimacy. Public perception of decisive leadership. Traoré's assertive rhetoric and anti-corruption stance resonate with many in the population's disillusioned by former civilian governments. This creates a perception of national revival even without a clear economic improvement or plan.
Violations of religious freedom. It would impose targeted sanctions on Nigerian officials. It would mandate action. And then October 2025, Fox and Friends morning show. Congressman Riley Moore appears on television. Behind him, graphics display the same numbers: 50,000 killed, 18,000 churches burned. Nigeria has become the deadliest place in the world to be a Christian. Moore says, we must suspend all U.S. arms sales until the Nigerian government protects religious minorities.
This is a genocide that's been going on by Islamic terrorist organizations, and we're going to get right to work on this and get to the bottom of what's happening.
October 15th, 2025. Nina Sher of the Hudson Institute organizes a letter signed by 30 Christian leaders. They were former ambassadors, bishops, evangelical leaders. They cite Bill Maher's comments as evidence of bipartisan concern. Even those outside our faith, they write, recognize the atrocity of what is happening in Nigeria. The letter urges immediate redesignation, immediate action, immediate intervention. Within weeks, the narrative is everywhere. A genocide is happening in Nigeria. Christians are being systematically exterminated by Muslim extremists. The world is ignoring it. America must act. It's a story that makes sense. Good versus evil, persecuted believers versus jihadist killers. A moral crisis demanding moral response. But There's only one problem. What if this story you are being told isn't the whole story? Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, 220 million people, the continent's largest economy, a country split almost evenly, roughly half Christian, half Muslim. And yes, Nigeria is bleeding. Since 2009, tens of thousands have died, villages have been razed, churches and mosques destroyed, entire communities displaced. The violence is real, the suffering is undeniable. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. This isn't one war. It's 3 different wars happening simultaneously in different parts of the country, each with different perpetrators, different victims, and different causes. In the northeast, Islamist terrorists wage an insurgency, but their victims are overwhelmingly Muslim civilians, not only Christians. In the Middle Belt, farmers and herders clash over scarce land and water, a conflict driven in part by resource scarcity, albeit with ethnic undertones. In the Northwest, armed bandits kidnap for ransom and slaughter villagers, killing Christians and Muslims indiscriminately for profit, not faith. And beneath it all lies a question that should make everyone pause. This violence has existed for 15 years. Boko Haram emerged in 2009. The massacres began over a decade ago. International organizations have documented the crisis for years. So, my question is, why now? Why in September 2025 does Nigeria suddenly become the center of American political attention? Why do senators introduce legislation? Why do talk show hosts sound the alarm? Why does a coordinated campaign emerge all at once, calling for US intervention? The answer, as you will see, has less to do with protecting Nigerian lives and more to do with who stands to benefit from framing this complex crisis in simple terms. Because when you follow the money, when you follow the power, follow the players pushing this narrative, you find something troubling. A network of politicians, think tanks, advocacy groups, and private military contractors, all with something to gain from American involvement in Nigeria, all with a track record of similar campaigns in Iraq, Libya, and Afghanistan, all telling a story that serves their interest while ignoring the voices of Nigerians themselves, both Christians and Muslims, who are begging the world to understand what is really happening here. This is the story of who is really dying in Nigeria, who is doing the killing, and who wants America to believe it's something it is not.
Now, like a well-trained journalist, the brother Jew Bella made sure to follow the money trail. And absolutely nobody should be surprised that the paper trail has led all the way back to that devil's throne known as the Vatican. The real question should be, why are the wealthiest heads of multinational corporations of the Western world seeking permission to form a mercenary army from the generals over at the Jesuit Commission? Because nobody can name a bigger multinational corporation than that devil's throne called the Vatican. You will not always have the documented evidence to prove everything being said. And I can even prove why the Vatican has such a massive network of sleeper cells all around the globe. Because this brother here, Cardinal Robert Sarah, the black man who could have been the Pope, just him speaking alone shows what potential these sleeper cells in Africa really has. Not only do these African cardinals and bishops have a greater insight of the Islamic threat than the currently elected Pope Leo, it's because they are dealing with this Christian persecution on a daily basis. This is not to say that persecution of Christians is not happening in some European countries, because while the Western world is playing policeman in places like Nigeria, there's an Islamic threat that exists right in Western Europe's backyard. And I am talking mostly about the Islamic or Muslim majorities that exist in the eastern and central parts of Europe. I'm talking about places like Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia, whereas the Islamic threat is a result of the remnants of the Ottoman occupation, whereas Europe or the Western world, because not Europe as a whole, is still dealing with the remnants of Ottoman occupation. Because it was during World War I where some of the southern and central European countries came from under Ottoman rule. But today there exists massive jihadist militias all across Eastern Europe. But yet we see the Western world playing global policeman in places of particular concern like Nigeria.
Annihilation. Divine, he's son of a Mason. Erasing in the sun is open energy. Poisonous Hennessy. Got me slurring out my ministry. There's many jinns in me. Word to Allah, they all crazy. The Lord raised me to blaze trees, so all praise me. The Parker Basie on my back. The history's raw. Seen the Lord on my mystery tour. My shit's in the store, online. People saw in HD. Songs from your iPod, blown to iGod. They gotta hate me, love it or not. The snubs in the spot. I got it on lock, that's why I'm drubbing a lot. Some slugs for your not sorry, mommy. Your son's got a homie Tommy. But told a high roller, both toes is bipolar. I tried sober, Prefer to have a blunt in a bottle. He wanted a hollow, she wanted to swallow. Was out of weed, looked in my ashtray. I spotted mad clips, had a Dutch roll that bitch up. Proceed to get lit. I'm on that archaic, hypnotic. Start hearing melodics, aquatics. Got my mind blown, I'm flown to the projects. Peter paid, Paul paid to get proppers pop. Cyber ops got our minds locked, designed a plot. I'm rhyming a lot. I leak it for the young black facetious. My rap speeches keep them packing in the bleachers. Leeches what I design, leave your mind line. When Einstein, there's no timeline. Only the now when I divine mind. There's no past, no future. Only the present, me not stressing. Consider this scripture a blessing. Brethren are all in all I see in the high region. The lie breathing, chaotic, divine heathen. I lean back, spit a mean rap, I clean black. Thoughts in between tracks, subliminally you'll fiend that. My nigga, where that weed at? Roll that shit up.